Forget everything that you think you know about productivity. Literally throw it out the door because it's not going to help you here. And in fact, I'm going to change your entire mindset around this. We're talking about a time management secret that's completely backwards. The more you slow down, the more time you actually have. Now, I know that sounds completely insane, but just hang in there and I'll get into it. Before we do that though, I do want to preface that this is not going to be anything motivational. So if you are looking for toxic motivation, this is not the video for you. This one will be. You're not going to get a hustle harder mantra from this because I'm talking about real life scenarios that I went through and how I'm able to manage my time, but also manage my workload. The first crucial shift that you need to have is that you need to slow down to actually speed up. Stop trying to squeeze every second out of the clock unintentionally. And the keyword there is unintentionally. So let's cut the nonsense and dive deep into this so that it will make more sense to you. Firstly, you want to set a clear goal. I know this sounds so easy to say, and a lot of people say the same thing, but what does this actually mean? If you don't have a real set goal, then you're not going to know what destination you're going to go towards, and therefore you're not going to know the journey. For example, if you know you want fried chicken, that's one goal, aka you want the good grades, but you don't know where you're going to get the fried chicken, then you're just going to walk around aimlessly and hoping that the fried chicken shop will be there, but it's never going to be there because it's in the next town over. That's the exact same with your studies right now. You know you want to get good grades, but because you don't have the goal set to get there, you're just wandering around aimlessly, pretending you're studying, but in reality, you're wasting your time. So you want to ditch the useless goals like saying,
I'm going to work on my project today.
That's going to be pointless. You want to be specific and be as realistic as possible as well. Don't say, I'm going to learn an entire syllabus in just 2 seconds. Obviously, that's not going to work. And instead, it's going to set you back because you're going to feel so anxious about not being able to do it. What you want to do instead is to say something along the lines of writing 100 words or writing 500 words for my essay before noon, or finalizing the presentation outline by 3 p.m. In this way, you give yourself some dopamine hit because you feel like you've done something, so you feel like you're winning. And secondly, it also breaks the goals down in order to have a very specific, tangible thing about it so that you can actually track the progress of your goal itself. Once you have that, it makes it a lot easier for you to break it down into smaller actions. For example, with the essay before, you can write down the outline first. Afterwards, you're gonna write down the draft. And once that's done, you can then revise it. So there's an actionable step each part of the way so that you actually know where you're going and what road or path you're taking to get to your goal. And this focus action was the one that changed everything for me. When I didn't figure this out yet, I was literally all over the place, and it meant that I was juggling a lot of plates, but they were all falling apart. But by doing this, I started to see a lot more of what is going on in my day-to-day life, and therefore I can fit my studying around my entire life. For example, if I have a social or an event that evening with the society and we have a meeting in the morning about it, and then I have to come in early in order to set up the event, speaking to teachers, blah, blah, blah. But also I have a tutoring session at 2 p.m. and also I still have to make content for my TikTok. And then I also have an exam tomorrow. Then how I'm going to plan that is to literally schedule my study sessions in between every single one of them. It takes me half an hour to go from home to uni. I'll study in that half an hour. I'll study again in the half hour back. I study during lunch break while I'm eating my food. I'll study during lessons when I know the topic already. Sometimes the content is pretty obvious and therefore I don't need to kind of sit there and listen through it, which means I can study for other subjects during my lecture time. And therefore I save a lot of time already. But all of this is done by saying I'm going to finish one past paper by 2 p.m. I know that at 2 p.m. I have my tutoring session. So between that time, whatever free time I have, I'll be working on my past paper. This honestly makes it a lot less overwhelming for me, so give it a go. Now I'm gonna give you a hard truth. Rushing is what's screwing you over. You think faster equals getting more work done, but it's not the case. You don't end up having 6 packs just from doing 100 squats within 5 seconds. Just because you're fast doesn't mean you actually get the muscles quickly. And that's the exact same with studying. Again, same thing. What you get instead is just stress, mistakes, and you end up feeling feeling so miserable because you're like, oh my God, I didn't complete it. I didn't complete it. I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have done that. I should have done this instead. I should have done that instead. And you just end up spiraling out of control. And instead you worry about it and you lose the time that you could have used to study because you end up worrying so much. When you deliberately slow down, you work smarter. You then become intentional with your time and you make fewer errors and think more clearly. In that case, you get in control. And I want to say this is a trick, but it really isn't. It's just that most people don't do it. Start earlier than you need to. Have what's called as a contingency plan. And this is a plan for when something happens out of your control that you still have enough time to complete whatever studying you have to do, whatever essay you need to do, whatever it is. For example, if it's the Christmas holidays, I don't actually know what my plans are going to be for Christmas most of the times, but I do know that when I go back into university in January, I will have an exam. So that means I will start planning to study from like end of November at least, or like early November, and depending on the subject, how many months, how many content I have to cover. But I try to start as early as possible and then give myself 2 weeks before the actual exam as contingency. This means that if in the holiday season, something does come up where I will be going out with my friends, going out with family, going on holiday, whatever it is, I already have 2 weeks planned at the end of it for me to have that in case time, so I still have that time to study, if that makes sense. It also means that I actually push the deadline forwards and I intentionally try to finish all of my studying 2 weeks early. If I do complete that 2 weeks early, then good, I have 2 extra weeks to relax. But if not, I still have the 2 extra weeks to complete my work. You see what I'm getting at here? Like, no matter what, you're still gonna win because you've set yourself up for winning. So when that happens, you have less frantic mindset, you're not as scared, and therefore you actually finish more work because you're not thinking about it 24/7. The next one I talked about quite a bit as well, and I talked about it in this scheduled video, so have a look at that one. But it's to not ignore the compound effect of doing small study sessions every single day. Instead of doing 15 hours a day, you want to instead do just small 30-minute sessions every single day. This does 2 things. Having the 30-minute sessions more regularly than the one-off cramming sessions means that you are applying your spatial repetition and also your active recall, which will allow you to stick the memory of the subject in your mind for a lot longer. So this means if you have your mocks this time, but then your exams next time, and it's going to cover the same topic, you're still going to remember it then. You just need to briefly refresh it, but you will still remember the majority of the content because you've done the correct techniques to make it stick in your brain. So when that happens, you actually have the compound effect of all of the things that you're learning accumulating with one another. And this creates a momentum like a snowball literally rolling down a hill. Real growth comes from working smarter consistently and letting the process handle the rest. Now, sidetracking a little bit, this is a bit relevant to it. Have you ever heard of task paralysis? Now, this is very common with those of you who have ADHD. My boyfriend has this. My boyfriend was recently diagnosed with ADHD, and therefore I got this idea of talking about this because it seems quite relevant to time management. If you have ADHD or you're neurodivergent, it's a bit more difficult for you to manage tasks as compared to other people. So what I do, or what my boyfriend does specifically, is to do simple tricks in order to break it. Firstly, we do study crawls together, or we move to open spaces where we work in cafes, where we study in cafes. And this is purely because your body needs a reset from your normal day-to-day lives. Once you start doing something, like for example, if you start studying in a study room, or if you start studying in bed, your brain just kind of gets used to it. And when your brain gets used to it, it gets bored. So what you need to do is to consistently switch between places. And this is what me and my friends did during my A-levels as well. We would switch between 4 cafes every single day in order for us to not get bored of one and make sure that our brains are still there in a way. Secondly, body doubling. By having somebody there studying with you, it feels a lot easier for you to study. So when I was studying by myself, if I didn't have anyone to study with me, I would watch a study with me on YouTube in order to feel that as if someone's studying with me. They don't even have to be working at the same thing as you. Just having their presence there will help you to actually work better. I think it's all about the accountability at that point, because you're constantly thinking like, oh my God, I don't want to stop studying because then they're going to judge me, etc., etc. etc. Like, I definitely feel that all the time whenever I'm like studying in a cafe. And thirdly, you want to use the reward system. Now, it really depends on the type of person that you are. For my boyfriend, for example, he loves tech. So if he wants a new technology, he would have to complete a certain amount of work for himself in order for him to be able to get that, basically. So he sets himself like a big reward. But obviously, that's not always feasible. So it's better to set yourself some small wins and therefore some small rewards as well. Maybe a treat here and there. But again, if you have ADHD and you're neurodivergent, a lot of the times it might be that you just get bored of that small rewards. So you have to mix and match it as you go along and see what works for you. I can't say the same for everyone because ADHD and neurodivergence is very much so dependent on each person, and it's very much so on a scale. But positive reinforcement will motivate your brain to keep going. The next thing you need to do to tackle your time management issues is going to be to eliminate distractions. Now, this seems so obvious. Like, if you are distracted by your phone, then put your phone in another room. Or what I do is I film myself studying and then I put it onto TikTok, or I go on TikTok live stream. But obviously you don't have to do that. Literally just having your phone up on the camera as if you are filming yourself is good enough. And the reason for that is because every time I reach for my phone and I want to use it, I see myself doing it. And because I see myself doing it, I get like shocked and I stop doing it. So the practical trick is to not fight them, but instead to manage them. You can even have like a focus session set on your phone, which blocks off the other apps that you're not allowed to use. So for me, I have work, which will turn off all notifications that are from social media. And also when I do go on social media, it automatically puts it on a timer for me so that I'm not on social media for like 5 hours, for example, doom scrolling. And if you don't want to use that, you can also negotiate with yourself on this. So tell yourself, okay, I'm gonna watch TikTok for 5 minutes, but then after that, I have to do a 20-minute study session, something like that. Now, one last trick that I want to tell you is to delegate wherever possible. But I study alone. How do I delegate it to someone? Delegating here means lightening your mental load by using tools and systems. Firstly, delegating to an app. Instead of trying to force your brain to have every single information out there, why not use a task manager like Notion, Todoist, Motion, whatever it is that you want to use. Have the app remembering it for you and organizing it for you so your brain doesn't have to think about it. Secondly, delegate to automation. So for me, it would be like what I said with my phone before. When I set it to work, every time I go on the social media app, it sets a timer, and therefore that's one form of automation. You can also delegate to software, so using voice to text for drafting or Grammarly for editing. These tools will handle the repetitive mechanics so you can focus only on the content itself. In this way, you are still in control, but you have the help that you need in order to take off a lot of the pressure from yourself. One last thing, your productivity will be slow at first. Trust me on this. I don't want you to then come off of this video, try it for one day, and then completely give up, because it's not going to be fixed within a day. It's going to take some time, but you will get there. The best systems are the ones that works perfectly for you and you customize it for yourself. Yes, all of the things that I've done here are based on my experience and therefore have worked for me, but not every single thing I say here right now may have worked for you as well. Try it out and see if they work. If they don't, revise and adjust accordingly. So maybe instead of you using like live streams on TikTok, you can instead use, I don't know, throwing your phone into the bin or something like that to make it more productive for yourself and not be distracted by it. So always try and adjust things here and there to see if it works for you. So here's the key takeaways that we've said so far. Firstly, you want to slow down to speed up, start early, break big goals down, be consistent with the small efforts, break paralysis with movement and dopamine, manage distractions, delegate the boring stuff to your tools, and you want to drop the toxic hustle culture. Time management is about using your attention wisely, not overdoing it, because then you will have no attention span whatsoever. You have the time that you need in order to complete your tasks, so don't worry, slow down, you will get there. So if you like that video, don't forget to share it with your friends, and if you are done with the rush of life, then make sure to give me a like as well, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. Tell me below what small thing you're gonna slow down and do in order to get more done. See you, bye! See you in the next video, bye!